Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5. Here on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, joined by the people's champ, Matt Baxendell. Bax, of course, the first college football playoff rankings of the season came out last night. Ohio State checks in at 6th. That's exactly where I thought they would be, but the teams right in front of them are not in the order I thought they would be. I thought it would be Bama, Clemson, Michigan, but then I thought it'd probably be Louisville, Washington, then Louisville, but it's not. It's Texas A&M all the way up at the number 4 spot, Washington then 5th, of course Ohio State 6th, Louisville 7th, other notables, Wisconsin at 8th, Auburn 9th, Nebraska 10th, Penn State is 12th, and Oklahoma is 14th. Just your reaction to where the Buckeyes are at and the rankings in general, Bax.
Well, I think the first thing is that, my goodness, is Ohio State played a better schedule than some of these other teams. I think that's the reason OSU was 6th, was that a lot of these teams that they've played are ranked in the top 15 already. You know, they've beaten 2 top 15 teams, and they lost at the number 12 team. So I think if you look at it from the committee's point of view, OSU is one of the most tested teams in the country. The committee likes to do this, though. Like, when it comes to A&M, they like to make an early statement about strength of schedule, and they'll put multiple teams from one conference in the top 4. So everybody jumps around and talks about, oh, my gosh, you're going to have 2 teams from the same league. And then in the end, we all know how it's going to shake out. This is just a nod to the fact that Washington really hasn't played a very difficult schedule and that the Pac-12 really isn't that good. The way I look at it is Ohio State has everything right where they want them. And if the Buckeyes keep taking care of business, odds are there's going to be an 11-0 Michigan team coming to the horseshoe. If the Buckeyes win this weekend, knock off number 10 Nebraska, that's only another notch in their belt, and it's going to put them in position where if Ohio State's 10-1 and Michigan's 11-0, winner of that game is going to control their own destiny. And that's all you can ask for after a loss for Ohio State. And I think that the way that they are right now is perfectly fine.
I'm going to turn the face of the college football rankings because even though we make it a big deal, as you mentioned, I mean, it's really not a big deal at this point. If Ohio State wins out, they're in. I mean, assuming there's not a 2-way tie with Ohio State and Penn State, which I don't think there will be. I don't see Michigan losing a game until they come here to Columbus. I want to get into something that Urban Meyer said yesterday on the Big Ten teleconference. He was asked about the problems on offense, particularly with the passing game. And he didn't say it was a mixture of things. He said it was execution. And as we all know, being football fans, journalists, whatever, when a coach says it's execution, he's basically throwing his players under the bus saying, we're calling the right plays. These guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I love Urban, but I'm not buying that. I think it's a mixture. I'm sure there are execution problems all the time, but I'm seeing bad play calling too, and too vanilla and too predictable. What's your take?
My take is you're dead on. If you have players that aren't executing, then change the plays and change some of the players. You know, oh my gosh, we're having trouble passing downfield. Put Benjamin Victor on the field and see what happens, you know? I think that this is just kind of that's Urban's way of essentially saying, look, we're going to figure it out. But, you know, I really I thought the staff would have a wake-up call after the Penn State game, and it looked like to a certain extent they did early. You know, they spread the field wide. They started actually trying to move the ball through the air on first down. That was nice to actually see change, but, you know, the truth of the matter is if you're saying it's an execution thing, then you're saying you don't have the players to do what you're trying to do, and I just don't buy that. I think we've seen a lot of conservative play calling I don't know, is it like a thing where Ohio State coaches get older, they get more trestle-like? But, you know, Urban has not taken the shackles off of his offense really since Oklahoma. Every time it gets tight, Urban, you know, let's face it at this point. You can talk about Tim Beck being a poor quarterback coach all you want. You'd probably be right. You can talk about Ed Warner having trouble utilizing the weapons in front of him, and you'd probably be right. So in the end, it comes back to Urban. Urban was the one who said we needed to rely on J.T. Barrett to run the ball 26 times against Indiana. Urban was the one who said that the things were perfectly fine on offense, and we'd figure out why we didn't get more points. This is on Urban now. And, you know, the guys clearly won a ton of games here at OSU, but on the flip side of the coin, you don't win a ton of games at OSU without the offense that we saw for the large majority of last year and the year before and all that other stuff. So, you know, there's something wrong with this offense, and part of it is the play calling. And Urban said yesterday in the teleconference that we haven't hit deep passes because we don't force the ball at Ohio State. You know what? Get Noah Brown out there and chuck it deep once or twice anyways and try to make a threat out of it. That'll make a big difference if you're going to try to run this offense that he's running.
Buckeyes are favored by 17 points over number 10 Nebraska this Saturday. That point spread keeps moving around. It opened at 16.5. dropped quickly to 14. Now it's back up to 17. Make of that what you will. But I think I'll tell you what you should make out of that. That means the Sharps were betting on Nebraska early, and now the public's brought it back up, and the Sharps will probably bring it back down. I think that point spread is extremely high. Your thoughts on the Nebraska game? Your thoughts? Are the Buckeyes finally going to cover the spread after not covering for 4 straight weeks? Just give me your take on that.
17 is a crazy high number for what we've seen from OSU the last 3 weeks. Let's be honest here. There have been questions about the Buckeyes scoring a total of 17 points in each of the last couple of weeks. So to say that they're magically going to win by 17 is, I mean, that's why you have to remember Vegas doesn't guess how they think the game will play out. They're guessing how people will put money on both sides. So if I'm Ohio State, I think you have the opportunity to throw the ball on Nebraska. I think you have the opportunity to make Tommy Armstrong throw into coverage. I mean, he's a guy who is prone to throwing picks, plain and simple. He throws off his back foot so much if you've watched Nebraska this year. And I've seen them probably play 7 games or so. I've watched most of their games this year. He throws off his back foot a ton. And their running game has been pretty decent, but there's a lot of questions about whether they can be able to run on a defense as good as OSU's. This is the kind of game that an opportunistic Ohio State team should be able to take advantage of. If this was Ohio State in September, I would tell you they would be on the verge of rolling Nebraska. But since we haven't seen an offense resembling, the one we thought we were getting since Oklahoma, this game's going to be much tighter. To me, this strikes me as kind of a 31-20 kind of affair.
Parris Campbell's injury. As a wide receiver, I think he's been coming along. They're using him on some jet sweeps. He's been looking pretty explosive there. So they're going to, if he's out for a while, it's going to hurt them a little bit offensively. But where I'm concerned is as a kickoff returner, because if they have to put Dontre Wilson back there, I'm not going to be happy about that. I'm not happy that he's a punt returner. Parris Campbell's injury, it's a sprained ankle, but they thought it might be fractured. They're happy it's not fractured, so that tells me it's a pretty serious sprain. I'm just guessing. We know those type of injuries can linger, especially for a guy that relies on his speed. What type of impact do you see the Parris Campbell injury having?
Well, here's the problem with Parris Campbell, and everybody gets worried about him being hurt. He hasn't actually done that much on the field this year. Ohio State's tried to involve him, but his biggest role this year has been he had that one really nice kick return. And that's really all we've seen out of him beyond a couple short catches and a couple, jet sweeps and stuff. So the practical effect is Dontre Wilson's return to kickoffs, and I'm not happy about that either because I'm with you, and I've been saying for weeks we need to get him off the punt returns because I'm afraid he'll drop the ball. But, I think the major effect is going to be on special teams because every time Campbell got the ball on kickoffs, you did feel like there was a threat of him running the ball back. But in the grand scheme of things on the offense itself, I don't think Parris Campbell's injury is going to affect this offense putting up points.
Great insights as always from the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can catch his column every Sunday. It is the Bucket. Thank you very much, Bax. Thanks to the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.